Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host Khalid. But today is the 26th of December 2024. The year is about to come to an end, but we've got lots to discuss with you. So without further ado, this is the lineup for today. We'll begin with the relations between Pakistan and China across peoples and generations. We've got two very important and interesting guests with us in the studios to discuss different aspects of that, especially people-to-people contact and cultural exchanges. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the latest situation as far as Palestine is concerned, and will be also highlighting the important events that have been happening in the Middle East since the last 14 months. Then, ladies and gentlemen, we have two news items which will of course concern the death anniversaries of two prominent poets, Parveen Shakir and Munir Niazi Saab, and finally, we're going to discuss the bald eagle that has officially been declared as the US national bird after a period of 250 years. So let's begin with the show, and our first segment concerns our very brotherly, friendly country that we've called many a times Iron Brother. We've been joined by two important guests who have come all the way to China, from China rather, to Pakistan to meet our Prime Minister and to also hand him two very important aspects that highlight the relationship between Pakistan and China. Our Qaid, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, as well as Chairman Mao Zedong, and their sculptures were made by the person who is right here with me in the studios. Let me introduce him to all of you here, but there will be a little issue because he speaks Chinese and we have got an interpreter who will be translating all of that for us. Presenting to you Master Yuan Xikun, who is here. He's a master sculptor. He's the director of Jintai Art Museum, and he's had many international awards, presidential awards for all the sculptures that he's made, and we have had the privilege to have him in Islamabad today, where he handed over the sculptures of both Chairman Mao Zedong and of course Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah today to our Prime Minister. Thank you very much to have joined us. Our second guest is Madame Mao Xiaoqing. She is the niece of Chairman Mao Zedong. Chairman Mao Zedong, as you very well know, is the leader of China, the spiritual leader of China, who has had a very strong affinity and bond as far as Pakistan is concerned. And he has been saying that Pakistan is our window to the West. And the last person that he met, the last official celebrity or prominent leader that he met before he passed away was also a Pakistani Prime Minister. So we have the privilege of having the niece of Chairman Mao Zedong with us right here as well. Let's begin with you, Master Yuan. Master Yuan, you've presented the sculptures of Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah and Chairman Mao Zedong to our Prime Minister of Pakistan, Shehbaz Sharif. Could you please express the feelings that you had while you presented those sculptures to us?
您好，您将真纳国父的雕塑和毛主席的雕塑送给了巴基斯坦。我想问一下您的感受如何，以及您为什么要做这件事情呢？
在历史上，毛泽东同志啊，在1973年的时候，那是跟巴基斯坦的布托先生是见过面的，而且毛泽东同志那时候教育我们，我那时候的年轻一代，就是要告诉我们，心中要翻滚着世界的风云。我是受过这种教育，这次也来做这次最伟大的事情，这是牵扯到两位最伟大的圣贤，所以我们都是做了长时间的准备。
In history, Chairman Mao Zedong met Prime Minister Bhutto in 1973, and I was long-term educated by this kind of philosophy that we need to focus the world and we need to join the international community well. So here, this visit to Pakistan, we have very important purpose, that is to present the sculptures of the two sages to Pakistan in order to promote our friendship.
All right, my next question is to Madame Mao Xiaoqing. Ma'am, your uncle Chairman Mao Zedong played a very major role as far as laying the foundation of Pakistan-China relations is concerned. Today, we have the privilege of also announcing his birth anniversary. That is the 26th of December, and yesterday was our founder, Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah's anniversary as well. How has this foundation that was laid by Chairman Mao Zedong continued to further strengthen, continued to further solidify the relations between our two countries since.
据我所知，您是毛主席的侄女，而毛主席为中巴两国之间的关系奠定了非常重要的基础。今天是一个特殊的日子，是毛主席的诞辰日，同时昨天又凑巧是真纳国父的生日。那么，请问您如何看待毛主席为中巴两国之间的友谊所奠定的基础，在未来如何进一步加强我们两国之间的友谊的？
毛主席就是我伯父，他和巴基斯坦的总统布托，从63年开始就一直多次到了中国，而且也是主席76年9月9去世之前的5月27号，布托又到了北京。在这个时候，我伯父毛主席身体已经比较虚弱了，但是他听到了老朋友布托来了，所以他一定要见。所以说跟布托在我伯父去世之前的最后一位外国朋友见面。
So my uncle Chairman Mao has had a very good relationship with His Excellency Mr. Bhutto since 1963. So they met with each other for lots of times during that time. And on 27th May, His Excellency Mr. Bhutto visited Beijing. But at that time, Chairman Mao's health was not very good. But when he knew that his old friend will come from Pakistan to visit him, he was so excited, and he said that he should definitely meet with him. So Mr. Bhutto was the last foreign guest met by Chairman Mao.
All right, Master Yuan, I'll come to you. I have heard so much about your passion for making sculptures, your passion for making portraits of eminent personalities from across the world. I've heard that you made the sculpture of our Qaid Muhammad Ali Jinnah on your own initiative, influenced by the Muslim culture. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about that?
袁先生您好，听说您真的是非常的热情，热衷于雕刻各种各样的雕塑，还有世界领导人的这个画像。而我也听说您是真的发自内心的希望能够为真纳来雕这样的一个雕像。那我想问一下，是什么促使你来做这件事情，以及是不是您所在的这个穆斯林伊斯兰的经历，让您有更多的灵感来做这件事情呢？
我是这个世界上因雕塑而获得总统最高荣誉勋章或文化部门奖章最多的人。我一直立志呢，就是要塑像真纳那么一样的伟人，所以呢，做了长时间的准备。在7年的时候，我们就一眼呢跟中华就是巴基斯坦大使哈大使做了非常准备，在北京这个巴基斯坦大使馆做了一次非常精彩的义演，成功了。我们这次呢才有胆量呢，在选择了这个12月26号呢，向总理献礼。
I'm the one who has won the most international medals in terms of sculptures in the world, and our target this time is to make something true for Qaid-e-Azam Jinnah, and I have made lots of preparation. Last year, actually, we did a very good rehearsal in the Pakistani embassy in China, thanks to the help and support of Ambassador His Excellency Mr. Hashmi, so that today, on 26 December, we can reach this great success of this event.
All right. Madam Mao, how has your experience in Pakistan been like, and how is your experience with all the people from the Pakistani government that you have met? How supportive have you found them to be? And do you feel the love that Pakistan has for China that resonates through all that they say to you?
毛女士您好，您在巴基斯坦的整个经历如何？您跟巴基斯坦的政府这些官员打交道的感受如何？您是否觉得大家都非常的支持您，非常的给力呢？以及您有没有感受到巴基斯坦人民、巴基斯坦对中国人民和中国的这种感情呢？
我从小啊就听到啊，巴基斯坦是巴铁，是我们中国的铁哥们儿。所以说我这一次来到巴基斯坦，深深地感受到，从政府领导到我们下面的工作人员，全都是特别的热情，体现了我们中巴友谊天长地久，源远流长。
When I was young, I started to hear a very good word that is Bati, Iron Brother, which means that Pakistan is the Iron Brother of China. And this time, when I come to Pakistan, I can deeply feel the great enthusiasm from the Pakistani government and the people of Pakistan. So this can greatly show the two countries' long-term relationship.
Master Yuan, I've also heard that you are an advocate for the environment. We know that climate change is something that is affecting the entire world. We have been a prime example of that in 2022 when floods, ravaged through our country. 1/3 of our country was underwater. How do you use your art to highlight environmental preservation?
袁大师您好，听说您也是一个环境保护的重要的倡议者和呼吁者。那么现在气候变化对全球的影响真的是非常的愈演愈烈。而在2022年巴基斯坦发生的洪灾就是其中的一个例子。在那个时候，有1/3的这个巴基斯坦都被淹没在这个洪灾水里之下。所以我特别想问您，您是如何通过艺术来呼吁大家来保护环境的呢？
我因为爸爸是美术家，妈妈是生物教研，所以我从小呢就对周边的环境比其他人关注得多。我曾经用我的个人的影响力为云南就是高原民族滇池、抚仙湖还有叶兰湖做出了很重要的贡献。比如当年滇池，我曾经用我的这个影响力呢，世界银行呢向滇池呢贷款了2亿美金，还有叶兰湖，请省委书记批了1个亿，改变了叶兰这个抚仙湖的这种污染情况。
Because my father is a good painter and my mother is majors in biology, so I focus on the environment greater and better than other people. So I use my influence to protect the environment, including the Dianchi Lake in the Yunnan province and also Fuxian Lake and Yuan Lake. For example, I once successfully helped the Dianchi Lake to apply for the $200 million loans from the World Bank. And also for the Yuan Lake, I successfully helped it to apply for the loans from the provincial government with the amount of $100 million. So those kind of loans and projects have successfully improved the environment of those lakes.
All right, that is wonderful. Ma'am, now I'd like to understand, when you look at the past of Pakistan-China relations, you've been the niece of somebody who has been instrumental as far as bridging the relations between Pakistan and China is concerned. When you look at the present of Pakistan-China relations, what do you foresee for the future of this strong bond that exists between our two countries?
毛女士您好，您作为毛主席的侄女，其实是中巴两国友谊一个非常重要的一个桥梁和纽带。您肯定是看过过去中巴两国的友谊的，而现在我想请问一下您，当您看现在的中巴友谊的时候，您对以后中巴两国之间强劲的友谊有什么期待呢？
我期待我们中巴友谊永远的坚持下去。而且我们能做到，因为我们的前辈不管是巴基斯坦的领导，还是我们中国的领导，都是 全心全意为人民服务的。所以说，我们是光明在前，一定是中巴友谊万岁。
For my expectation, I really hope that the two countries' relationship can last forever, and I deeply believe that we can make it, because thanks to our previous leaders from China and Pakistan, thanks to their hard work to serve for the two countries' people. So I really hope that our two countries' friendship can last forever.
All right. Master Yuan, my last question to you. I know you have a very busy schedule in front of you. How do you see people-to-people ties as a catalyst of the relations between Pakistan and China? And how do you foresee, just like I asked Ma'am Mao, how do you foresee the relations between our two brotherly, friendly countries?
最后一个问题，我想问到您袁老师，就是我知道您非常注重人文之间的交流与合作。那请问您是如何看待人文交流来促进中巴两国之间的友谊的呢？人文交流是如何作为催化剂来拉动两国友谊的发展的呢？以及就像刚才问毛女士的问题一样，在未来您是怎么看待以后的这个中巴友谊的兄弟关系的？
中巴友谊呢，历史上是打了非常好的基础了。这次呢，我到了巴基斯坦，上至你们的官员这种非常扎实的努力，以至于我到了像清真寺那样的民众之间，我都看到这些的民众的眼睛，乃至于我在旅馆里边的服务员，我都从他们身上看出了这种自上而下的像琥珀一样通透的这种真实的感情，它是有希望的，非常有希望的。我们的文艺家呢，我们用我们的画笔，用我们的雕塑，给它更深层次的给予加固凝固。
So the two countries' friendship now has a very good historical foundation laid by the previous leaders and peoples. And this time when I come to Pakistan, I can tell the very deep and clear affection of the people of Pakistan, including the officials of Pakistan and also the people here. Because when I visited the Fazal Mosque, I saw lots of Pakistani people. And when I stayed in the hotel, I can also see the waiters' eyes. All of their eyes are very clear with deep affection and as clear as the amber in the nature. So I think that the two countries' relationship is full of hope. And as an artist, I will continue to use my brush and sculptures to implement the two countries' relationship.
Let's wish and let's hope and let's pray and let's look forward to a more robust, strong, and multifaceted relationship between our two countries. Thank you very much, Master Yuan Xikun. Thank you very much, Madam Mao Xiaoqing, to have come to us in the studios, to have given us the time and to have talked to us about the soul of our two countries that is entwined together and bridging new ties with every passing year. Thank you very much to the both of you. And thank you very much to have interpreted whatever they had to say as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll come back with our second segment after a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back, and our discussion continues in Newsroom, and this time we talk about Middle East. We have been highlighting it since the last 14 months when this brutality or this genocide began on the 7th of October in 2023. We are the end of December in 2024, and we don't see any light at the end of the tunnel. To highlight different aspects of what has happened in Gaza of recent, of late, we've been joined by three guests. Let me introduce them to you one by one. Saira Nawaz Abbasi Sahiba, who's an international affairs expert, joins us in the studios. We'll also be joined online by Osama Muhammad Nazzal, who's a Palestinian journalist, joins us from Jenin, as well as Hanin Harara, who's a Palestinian journalist who joins us from Gaza. Let's begin with you, Saira Nawaz. 5 journalists have been killed recently, and I'll go to the journalists a bit later in the show, but it's just not the journalists, it's the refugee camps, whether it be the Nusayrat, Jabalia, who are bombarded relentlessly by the Israeli forces, despite knowing that women, children are in those camps. At least 20 Palestinians have been killed in the continuous bombing since dawn. Just today, the number of killed of families is incremental. Every day we hear of complete families being exterminated. In the Tulkarem refugee camp, also in the occupied West Bank, they have now started their incursions and raiding and killing people, and the victims include 2 women and a teenager. 45,361 as we speak have been killed. More than 107,000 have been injured since the 7th of October. And of course, as we know, we've discussed in the past as well, the majority are women and children. Entire families have been wiped out. When and how can these atrocities end?
Thank you, Mr. Omar, for having me at your show. Well, the ongoing violence, which is and the facts that you have just shared, are very disturbing for the international relations expert and for the international community also. And it signifies that how much important it is, and there is a dire need for the conflict resolution. But unfortunately, we haven't seen that. So the killing of the journalist and the killing of the civilians is the violation of international law, the violation of international legal frameworks, and to suppress the voices against the Israel, especially those who want to highlight the atrocities of the Israel to the international media, to the international community. So what they want to do is to suppress, to silence them, so that the world do not get the right information about how much they're doing in the Israel, in the Palestinian. So of course this is very distressing. There is no element of empathy left. There is no element of humanity left. And the second part of your question regarding when it will end
and how will it end,
and how it will end is important. And like time and again we have been discussing in your program and your show that there is a need for the commitment by the international power centers and by the international community to take tangible actions to put pressure on Israel to end the atrocities. But unfortunately nothing of such sort is happening, and Israel is doing all its effort to silence all those voices, to set examples that whosoever and whatsoever they would be doing against the Israel, they will suppress it. So very minimal voices, and just for the sake of giving the statements and just to highlight that what are their stance be it against Israel, just for the sake of that is there, but otherwise there is no tangible action. And unless there is no diplomatic pressure or tangible efforts taken by the international community, these atrocities are not going slow.
All right. Osama Muhammad Nazzal joins us from Jenin. Osama, my brother, thank you very much to have joined us. I'd like to pose my first question regarding the journalists. Around 201 or 200 plus journalists have been killed so far since the 7th of October 2023, and the last being these 5 journalists. What is very interesting, I mean it's not interesting but it's despicable about these journalists is that their truck in which they were present had press written all over it. They had press jackets on it, despite the fact knowing very well they were from the press, they were targeted. And then the Israeli side says that no, there were terrorist elements present, and that is why this was targeted. Shouldn't the journalists, I mean this journalist is just one example, Osama, but I'd like to understand. Health workers are others, doctors are others, nurses are others. I mean, so many examples of so many parts of the community that are being massacred as we speak. I'd like to understand your take as far as these massacres is concerned.
Thank you very much, dear Omar, for having me. Yes, that is the mentality, that is the mindset of the Zionist Israeli colonial power. Kill and kill and kill without any kind of discrimination between a fighter, a civilian, a doctor, a journalist, or whoever, because that is the Israeli scheme today, to end the existence of all the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip. And it can't do that without targeting all the Palestinian society segments, whether journalists, teachers, or doctors, and to end all the features of human life in Gaza. What happened today morning, killing 5 Palestinian journalists, targeting their broadcast van that has the logo of a press very clear on it, shows the real intent of Israel to commit genocide against the Palestinians. By the way, one of these journalists who were killed was waiting for his wife while she was in the hospital in labor. He was waiting for his first child. So that is the tragedy, that is the catastrophe that the Palestinian people live this day under the Israeli occupation. While you are waiting for your wife to deliver your first child, your wife gets out of the labor room to get the news of your murder at the hands of the Israeli occupation forces. Israel doesn't want to hide the truth only by killing the Palestinian journalists. No, this is part of the larger goal of the Israeli occupation, which is ending the existence of the Palestinian people, first in Gaza, secondly in the West Bank.
All right. Osama, I'd like to ask the next question from you as well before I go back to my guests in the studios. This 5 journalists killing in this Israeli attack in Gaza, I mean, when you look at the different kinds of organizations that have been targeted, whether it be, and the Palestinian journalists who have not only been targeted, killed, but also they've been imprisoned. 75 Palestinian journalists are in prison as we speak. Another 45 have been injured in attacks. 2 are still missing. And the Israeli army has been responsible for the killing of 1/3 of all journalists this year. This is what a group that is known as the IFJ, that is International Federation of Journalists, has stated in a report. These counts, these numbers, when you talk of human rights, I mean, this is just one segment. You know, I again have to emphasize, this is just one segment. You've got the health workers, more than 100 health workers have been killed, maimed, butchered by the Israelis. The nurses, the doctors who have also been killed. And how can we not talk about the women and children? The majority of those who've been killed are women and children. Why are the human rights activists across the world silent? Or if they are not silent, if the statements are coming, then why is not that translating into tangible action, as Dr. Saira pointed out?
Yes, it is really disastrous that what prevails in the world today is the language of power and the language of the military might, not the language of humanity and the language of human rights. And that's why we don't see a clear or a strong voice of the international human rights organizations, except for a few. For example, it issued its report. Human Rights Watch issued their report. Also, the United Nations rapporteur on the human rights in the Palestinian territories occupied in 1967 issued their report, telling the world that Israel is committing genocide. It is not a war. It is not a battle between 2 armies, the Israeli occupation army and the Palestinian army. It is a war by the Israeli military against Palestinian civilians, against the Palestinian people who live under the Israeli occupation. And these organizations try to attract the attention of the superpower governments on this planet to pressure Israel to stop its genocide, but they did not receive any positive response. We see how the American administration is still providing Israel with all kinds of weapons that Israel needs to continue the mission of genocide. So I think without having a powerful Arabic Islamic position by all the Arab and Islamic governments to tell Israel and the United States that the Palestinian people are human beings and they have the right to live, and Israel must stop, or the American interest in the Middle East would be put at risk, I don't think that there will be an end to this crime that the world has never witnessed in modern history. In Gaza, the situation in the West Bank is unbearable. And whatever I talk about the situation here, I can't describe it, dear Omar, because it's really not a human being's life. There is no feature of life in Gaza or even here in the West Bank. As just yesterday, the people of the West Bank laid to rest about 10 of their young men who were murdered by the Israeli military force. So things are too difficult to describe by words.
I understand your plight, and our prayers go to all of our Palestinian brothers who are currently undergoing this brutality in Gaza and elsewhere. Thank you very much, Brother Osama Muhammad Nazzal, to have joined us all the way from Jenin, to have given us an update on the latest situation in Gaza. Thank you very much, brother. Let's
Can
come to you.
Can I add
Yes,
to
please,
this?
please.
What is the job of the journalist? We have to understand that. The job of the journalist to give you the factual information. And I mean, they are not a threat because they are not the part of the combatants. They are the non-combatants. So killing of the journalist is the clear violation of international legal frameworks at the first place. Secondly, of course, what they the journalists are also, their work is very much consistent with the notion of democracy, you know, because when you give the factual information, the people and the policy makers and the leaders are held accountable based on that factual information. So what Israel is trying to do is that to not reach the right information to the people, so that they should not be held accountable for their actions in the Palestine. So that is the systematic effort actually to silence all the elements who raise their voice and highlight their brutality in any conflict zone in any country, be it the war in Gaza or the war in Ukraine. The killings of the journalist is highly, I mean, disturbing and highly against the legality of the international norms, and putting a big question mark on international organizations like you have just mentioned, the two organizations, they have given the reports. But what international community and power centers and those who have, you know, designed this notion of democracy and democratic values, so there is a big question mark on that also.
There is indeed a big question mark, but also I'd like to understand, whenever there is a very eminent personality that talks about the brutalities in Israel, there are various measures taken by the Israelis to mute that voice, even if it is Pope Francis. Now,
Yeah.
Pope Francis has been very vocal recently on criticizing Israel over the killing of Palestinian children, and he said, with pain, I think of Gaza, of so much cruelty, of the children being machine gunned, of the bombings of schools and hospitals, what cruelty. He had said this on Saturday. Now, what happened is that the country's foreign minister summons the Vatican's ambassador over these comments, and he says suggests a strong displeasure with the Pope's comment. This has been stated in an Israeli news outlet known as Ynet. Is there no regard even for the Pope when it comes to the West? I mean, will there be no limit on to which Israel can move, and limit to whosoever can or cannot say against what is happening exactly in Palestine?
It is very evident and clear that in the Western political discourse, the Pope Francis statements are very, very significant and of high value. So any such statement in which he is, doing a critique towards Israel's atrocities in the Palestine, of course, that would be drawn against the narrative of the Israel that they present to the world. That what we are the victim and not the Palestinians are the victim. We are just defensive and we are trying to defend. So when such statements are coming from Pope Francis, of course, that would undermine their own political narrative. So Israel, there are actually two ways to look at the statements of the Pope Francis. One is that his statement is very much inconsistent with the universal values of rights and justice and empathy. So one segment of the society in the Western communities taking it as, the right thing. but the other who are pro-Israel and who are extremists, I would say, they believe that any statement which is undermining the objectives of the Israel would be either ignored or, like you said, muted, or they will be acted as a resistance, and this signify that how much the geopolitics and politics is complex when it comes to even when the statement is coming from the very respectful and dignified personality.
That is so true, and this is so unfortunate, to say the least. Thank you very much, Dr. Saira Nawaz Abbasi Sahaba, to have joined us, to have talked to us about these atrocities, and it breaks the heart, when you look at whatever is happening in Palestine, and when you also look at how shamelessly Israel is defending whatever they are doing in the so-called name of defense in Palestine. I think attribution will come, but I hope it comes sooner than later, and an end to these atrocities in Palestine also comes sooner than later. Please stay with us for 2-3 minutes while I end the show, Dr. Saira. Let's end with two important stories, in fact 3, but I'm coupling two death anniversaries that are being observed across Pakistan and of course in the world, where they love Pakistani poetry. Parveen Shakir Sahiba, whose 30th death anniversary is being observed today. Of course, we all know who she is, who she was, and what she represented. She started poetry at a very young age, wrote both prose and poetry, contributed columns as far as Urdu newspapers is concerned, and a few articles in English dailies as well. She was the winner of the Pride of Performance for her outstanding contributions in literature. She unfortunately passed in a road accident in Islamabad in 1994 at the age of 42. Our deepest condolences again for the family of poetess Parveen Shakir. Next is the 18th death anniversary of poet Munir Niazi, that is also being observed today across Pakistan. Known for his melodious ghazals, he's also known for the songs that he has penned for certain Pakistani films. He's got many important Urdu collections, and in recognition of his literary prowess, he was bestowed with the President's Award for Pride of Performance in 1992 and the Sitara Imtiaz in the year 1998. He passed away on this very day in 2006 after suffering from a respiratory disease. Our deepest condolences also go to his family. May both these souls rest in eternal peace. Finally, the bald eagle has officially been declared as the US national bird after a period, 250 years. For 250 years, they did not know whether the bald eagle should or should not be declared the official bird. Now, officially, it has been declared. Joe Biden has signed a law on Christmas Eve bestowing the honor upon the white-headed and yellow-beaked bird of prey, because the bird has been an emblem as far as the US is concerned for years and years, appearing on the Great Seal of the US. It is used on the US documents since 1782. So finally, a recognition for the bald eagle that comes its way. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we end today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new story segments that pertain to us here in Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.